This is our main boy, Xiao Wang, in the middle of his nosebleed. He is currently approached by the hottest girl of their office. Her large melons are too up close, making him unable to think properly. She tries to ask him for help in getting more fans and shit, and is currently the top Twitch thought. He believes that she is being nice to him right now since she is seeing the profit. And to tell her off, he tries to point flaws at her face, saying that her nose is a bit crooked, much to her shock. His system immediately rewards him with money for not being a simp. He checks his balance and realizes that it's indeed real. But how did this all happen? Just a bit ago, he was asking his boss for a leave for his sick mother. But he quickly declined. Apparently, they don't give shit unless someone died. And instead, he focuses for simping on Twitch thoughts. Our boy tries to appeal still, but is rejected and lectured on young ones these days don't respect work for shit. And also reminds him the fact that he was only accepted into the company because they had emergency. Otherwise, his skill won't grant him a job anywhere. And instead of the break, he suggests him to quit completely. A bit later, he gets a call from his dad. A thick-ass nurse there is asking him for the medical fees. Our boy insists to help them, but his dad assures that it's okay and he would get the job done. He don't need to overexert on this. After trying his best, he was only able to save 50,000, which would at least cover his mom's medical expenses for a while. He don't care about this inhumane company. His parents comes first for him. He goes into the HR department and ends up finally quitting his job, and calls himself reckless for taking such decision without another job lined up for him. Suddenly, the system window is activated. He is rewarded with 90,000 yuan for making a decision against their ancestors' wishes. He quickly takes out his phone to check his account, and he actually did got the money transferred, leaving him shocked. Even the system tells him to not be too doubtful of it and start living up. Continuing on from previous, she actually thanks him for reminding her and still hopes to someday collaborate with him in the future. Xiao Hang is surprised that she is happy instead of furious. She even offers to treat him to a farewell dinner since he managed her for so long, and also to help him look for a job. He realizes that she is worried for him and thinks that she is actually quite nice, and instead offers himself to pay for the dinner. She tries to insist against it since his salary ain't that high, but he calls the dinner a thanks for all the support that she gave him. She chuckles and comments that she really don't know him at all despite this being his last day today. With this, Xiao Hang leaves, planning to contact her later. A bit later, he is out there and planning to hire a taxi. Previously, he only used to use public transports, and when it wasn't available, he used to do carpool with others. Even that was a luxury for him. But this time, he hires the most expensive one, and is quite pleased. With his vastly different experience, it arrived far quicker than normal taxis. He previous had to wait so much, reaching home only till midnight. And now he is indulging properly. The system again rewards him with money for it, a whole 50,000 yuan. And his first stop right now is Laoshi Pancake Shop, and he arrives there in quite the style. The auntie there asks if he wants his usual, without egg or sausage. But this time, he gets extra eggs and a real sausage instead. Previously, he couldn't spend more than 20 yuan a day on food. Now he is paying 15 yuan for a single meal. And for some reason, all the people around are making it their dream to be able to spend that much on food. Even the system is shocked, granting him a whole sum of 20,000 yuan for it. He himself seems quite satisfied, finally having a big heartful meal. And now that he has made some money, he wonders, how can he entertain himself? And just then, he comes across a mall. And instead of remembering to pay his mom's medical bills, he remembers to shop for some clothes for his late-night dinner party with Gao when instead. And inside the mall, he cannot help but act like a country boy seeing all the big brands. And in the end, ends up going to the Louis Vuitton store, where the staff is quick to notice him. One of the sales girl there quickly analyzes him, his cheap clothes, what phone he uses, and what not. And immediately, they all start to ignore him. He even tries to ask if anyone is not going to attend to him, finding their sabinesh quite obvious. He explains that he was simply tired and just wanted to pick something worth 150,000 and be done. But since they are wasting his time, he threatens to simply go to the Hermes store next door. And they all quickly gets ready to blow him, surrounding him like flies to honey. Our boy finally realizes the power money holds. The service he was given was also incredible. They even carry his bags right behind him. They also invite him to participate in the jewelry appreciation event at the end of the month, and offers to deliver everything to his residence instead, but he declines and takes everything himself. And the system again comes in clutch, rewarding him with 600k for spending on clothes like this. And now, he is only a little bit away from becoming a millionaire. Now at an exquisite Western restaurant. He comes all shining like a gold bar. His shit ass apparently reserved a private room instead of paying for his mom's bill, and even came early for some extra simp time. But the VIP room also has a separate area where he can enjoy and rest while waiting for his friends. He comes to a realization that clothes do make a man. He never received such services before in these kinds of places. He arrives at the private booth with his personal service bell as well, while enjoying a view that he has never seen before in his entire life. As long as he has money, he can enjoy himself freely, and stand at height the others cannot even hope to reach. But at least he now remembers that he had to wire some money to his dad, 100,000. He just plans to say that it's from his part-time job, so they don't get too shocked or confused. We now switch to a thick-ass view, with melons larger than my future. She asks her top donors to send some more rockets in her way, so she can dance even more freely, and starts requesting like a Twitch thought. Xiaoheng already sent her the location, but she didn't reply. She was indeed busy streaming. And after finally getting some rockets, she finally ends her stream for today. Her friends arrive in time and asks her about their eating plans for tonight, and she informs that she already have a plan for herself. One of them tries asking which sugar daddy is she going to, but Gaowen shuts her up and reveals that it's actually Xiaoheng. Her other friend teases her that she still cannot forget him even after he left the job, while the orange hair is clueless. But Gaowen clears up the misunderstanding that they are only having a dinner since he helped her so much in the past. Her friends asks to tag along, and she quickly agrees, but also warns them to eat something ordinary, and since he is paying, if the food turned out to be expensive, they would pay it themselves. The blonde hair asks Xinhua to come as well, and she agrees, also not wanting to take advantage of people, but also knows that Xiaoheng cannot afford shit with his low salary. Gaowen goes on to remove the makeup first, and asks to meet up at the parking lot later. A bit later, and they meet up at the parking lot. Gaowen takes her car, and the blondie wants one too, so Gao suggests her to perhaps try being a dance streamer instead, which she finds too tiring. She just wants someone soft-hearted to pull her ashore. But Xinhua tells her to not think too much, since it's already good enough in their business that they are not being used and sleep with by other sponsors. But Zhang Xingqing just wants to dream, while Xinhua don't believe that Gaowen got the car just by dancing, and instead have slept with many of her top fans for it. She then goes on to ask Gaowen for the location, and she goes on to check, only to be left absolutely shocked. Xinhua believes that she is shocked because the location is actually so poor. She reveals it to be Lingwei. Qingqing asks if it's perhaps a restaurant with the same name, but she confirms that it's the one in the Qingtian building. It's apparently a place where it costs at least 3,000 per person, and it's very hard to even get reservations there, which makes her question it even more since Xiaoheng just lost his job. Xinhua believes that it might be in the same building, since some people like to do this to confuse others and show off. But Gaowen believes that Heng is not that kind of person. Xinhua still believes that Gao is about to get slapped in her face. In the car, Qingqing talks about how much she likes Gao's car, and Xinhua suggests her to get some sponsors as well, suggesting to just pull her collar down a bit and give it a bit of a squeeze. If only they lower their standard a bit, the top spenders would come flying at them. But Qingqing asks her to stop it since all of her audience is female. Xinhua also don't want to make money like this. If a big guy offered to marry her, she plans to just become a full-time housewife instead. She notices Gao when silence and asks if she is looking down on her. But she simply replies that she should be independent instead, since in the end, the guy might get with others in the same way he got with her. Xinhua don't appreciate her thoughts, since her dances are more provocative than anyone else's. But Gaowen just wants to be self-reliant, since men might betray her, but money won't. They finally arrive at the location. Huinking asks her to do a double-check one. Xinhua agrees, since it would be quite embarrassing for them to lose face in such a high-end restaurant, and if someone recognizes them and post a video, it would be a big problem, so Gaowen decides to call Xiaoheng instead. But he doesn't answer. Xinhua smirks, believing that Gaowen was showing off and is about to pay for it. Gaowen believes that he is perhaps busy. Xinhua agrees and asks to go up to check, wanting to really see Gaowen lose her face. Gaowen agrees. She knows that Xiaoheng usually lives very frugally and knows that he got low salary as well. She sincerely hopes that she is not joking, otherwise she would have to treat everyone this time. After getting up, she tries to look inside by hiding behind a wall first. He is still not answering her call. Suddenly, the staff comes along and asks her if she got some reservation. Xinhua agrees while Gaowen hesitates, but ends up saying that their reservation must be under the name of Heng. Xinhua wants to see how Gaowen would get out of this situation, since with a monthly salary of only 5,000, a mere meal here would cost him around 3 months of salary. But the staff actually invites all of them in. Heng has been apparently waiting for them for a long time. leaving Xinhua quite shocked. They follow her for a bit. Xinhua is envious of Gao Wen. She firmly occupied the top spot and left her with only the second one, hogging all the company resources, and now all kinds of people are dying for attention from her. And she believes that Xiao Hang is also one of them. He might even end up losing both the money and the girl for trying to pretend to be rich. They arrive at the lift and are taken to the upper floors. Qingqing is worried. If the reservation was done under the same name, it would be too embarrassing for them, because this elevator is exclusive for VIP, and the per plate in the VIP lounge is at least 10,000. Xinhua also believes that it must be someone with the same name, and if Xiao Hang saved all of his salary, he might have that much, but since there are 3 of them, she wants to see how he handles it. They finally arrive and are seated at the lounge, but are surprised to not find Xiao Hang there. But since they are here already, Qingqing decides to take some selfies. No one is allowed to take photos in the lobby, so even if they don't end up eating, she would treat it as if they did, which she would then post on social media. No one would know either ways whether she was here for real or not. Xinhua is quite annoyed at Xiao Hang for not being here while calling everyone else. Qingqing is super excited. She has never eaten in such expensive restaurant before. Xinhua claims to Gao Wen that it's all a big misunderstanding, and they would make a fool of themselves. The staff calls for Hang to wake up already. Gao Wen also starts to believe that perhaps they got the wrong person, since he shouldn't be able to afford to eat here. Xinhua is quite happy by this all. But our boy finally comes out. He apparently slept away waiting for them all, and asks the waiter to start with the serving now. Seeing his completely different look and outfit, Gao Wen is quite surprised. Qingqing is shocked too, seeing him wear all branded clothes. Just his jacket alone costs 40,000 yuan. Xinhua recognizes them as the latest LV fashion and wonders if he is some rich second generation. And the fact that Gao Wen bagged such person is quite annoying to her. He greets Qingqing and kind of recognizes her as well, but doesn't remember Xinhua, who then properly and gracefully tries to introduce herself. Xiao Hang apologizes, claiming that he just woke up, so he cannot recognize her since she looks a lot different without her beauty filter. Xinhua tells him that it's okay. She is wearing light makeup today, while being quite annoyed at his statement. Gao Wen also confirms with him if it's okay if she brings her friends along. The waiters arrive with their food, and seeing the dishes, Gao Wen is quite surprised, believing that they cannot even afford to split the bills here, and Xiao Hang is putting on airs. Qingqing sneakily asks Gao Wen if a second generation like him just quit his job to go back and inherit his family's wealth. To which, she simply replies that she don't know either. But seeing the food, Xiao Hang has no appetite. It only looks good instead of filling him up. Qingqing asks to take a photo first before they eat, and he asks her to go ahead. Xinhua tries to ask Gao Wen about what is happening, and she replies that she really don't know it either, because she is actually not that close to him aside from work-related stuff. She remembers all the moments of him taking taxis and saving his money, living very frugally, and assumes that perhaps he is some rich second generation trying to live with a low profile. But this time he didn't want the girls to pay, so he revealed his wealth. Xiao Hang asks the waiter to get him something more down-to-earth, which is filling. Qingqing is surprised that he is daring to say that, also believing that these foods are only good for taking photos. The staff suggests him some options, slow-cooked food with the largest portion being 20 kilos at max. But our boy instead asks for some intense food, more imported beef, crab, etc. Qingqing is really surprised by his boldness. She has never seen someone order like this in a high-end restaurant. Xinhua tells him to go eat at some other place instead of a French restaurant if you want to eat something like this, believing that Xiao Hang is someone who recently got rich, or perhaps even an imposter. He then goes on to ask for grilled kidneys and shit. The staff quickly denies, insisting that he can only order things that are on the menu. So he asks for her to get the manager for the unsatisfactory response, making her realize that he is not joking about it. A bit later and he is here, also clearly telling Xiao Hang that it's a French restaurant, so they don't sell anything other than French cuisine here. Xinhua seems quite elated by Xiao Hang getting scolded by the manager, while he insists on having a barbecue in a high-end French restaurant. So he cannot help but show off, offering them 300,000 for a meal and even a large tip along with it. Both the manager and the girls are shocked to hear that ridiculous amount for a single meal, and the fat ass happily agrees to all of his demands, basically becoming his personal lapdog. The system again rewards him with the money for his defiance act. Xiao Hang tells everyone that dining should be all about relaxation and getting full. Qingqing agrees, thinking that posting photos of having barbecue in a high-end French restaurant might be even more engaging. Their barbecue is finally served. Seeing which, Qingqing is left shocked, realizing that money really talks. And people won't believe that they were having a barbecue at a 3-star Michelin restaurant in the top floor of the tallest building in Beijing. And with this, he finally formally invites all the hoes to have a dinner with him. Fast forward to a bit later, and he finally finishes eating and goes to the washroom. They all talk about his clothes and how he must definitely be a rich second generation. And perhaps he was working at their company to try and get close to Gao Wan, who believes that she doesn't have much charm and assumes instead that he didn't want to be high profile, but now since he is quitting the job, he doesn't care anymore. Qingqing agrees, believing that some second generation just like to experience ordinary life. Xinhua asks Gao Wan if she is moved by him and not like him. Qingqing finds it heart-fluttering that a top-tier second generation like him is spending money just to have a dinner with her. But since Gao Wan seems surprisingly calm, Xinhua claims that no reason she wasn't interested in her top donor, since she already had a bigger fish in hand. But she claims that she really didn't know about his background at all, so she cannot have feelings for him. She also never had any private interactions with him. She always found him someone quite modest, with ambition and hardworking as well. Xinhua reluctantly accepts her explanation for now, and frames that he might be faking it, since there are many people today who act rich just to impress girls, like how some top donors take online loans as well for it. Qingqing wants to actually commend his acting skill if he was only acting poor all this time. Xinhua believes that it won't be difficult to verify if he is actually rich or not. But Gao Wan finds it unnecessary, since he just treated them to an expensive dinner. It's not good that they are doubting him now. Xinhua finds it annoying how she is pretending to be all innocent now, and tells her to not lower her value, since a lot of people would be willing to spend 100,000 just to win her devotion, which is how manipulative people operate. And once she is emotionally invested in him, he would reveal his true colors to her, which can be dangerous. Gao Wan claims that she has absolutely no intention of developing that kind of relationship with him because of this. Regardless, Xinhua wants them to follow her lead after he gets back to verify his status, claiming that she just wants to look after her friends. A bit later, they arrive at the parking area with him. Gao Wan plans to cover the expenses herself today if Xiao Heng does turn out to be just showing off, though she also hopes that he isn't going down such a deceptive way. Qingqing asks Xiao Heng if he has a girlfriend, and he replies that he has been single since his birth, which she is quite surprised to know. He claims that he was so focused on his career that he didn't have time for this, because that would be something that he finds to be complete miserable. He isn't foolish anyone to indulge in such shit. And now since it's only 9 right now, Xinhua suggests to hang out at some famous bar before they head back. She plans to treat them to a drink herself. They can apparently even meet some internet celebrities there. Xiao Heng agrees as well, and they head to the bar. And now that he has some time, he plans to even open his own media company in the future. And given his background, he believes that he is going to be successful in this industry as well, so it wouldn't hurt him to get to know some celebrities in the club today. Xinhua gives them a heads up after arriving at the bar that she can only treat them to 2 drinks each since the prices are high here. They all reply that they are okay with it since they are here to have some casual fun anyways. We also seemingly see his old boss there coming in with 2 girls. Xiao Heng is also excited. He never thought he would have the opportunity to visit the famous few bar. They finally enter the club, and we see all kinds of shit going on, which they simply sit back and enjoy. Xinhua orders a margarita for herself, letting everyone else choose there. Qingqing takes a lady pink, and Gao Wan asks for no alcohol, since she has to drive back as well. Xinhua asks Xiao Heng to order, but seeing him stare at the club, she believes he is some fake rich who has never been to a club before. He suddenly responds. She again asks, what does he want to order? And he simply replies that anything is fine. She then orders a Long Island tea for him. Qingqing finds it too far, because it's a very strong drink. But Xinhua argues that it's a bar, which is just a place to drink anyways. A bit later, she starts saying how she wants to try a drink from the famous bartender Danny here, but it's a bit pricey. Gao Wan simply asks her to stop at this point, but she replies that they should teach Xiao Heng a lesson if he is pretending to be rich. She again tries to call him, but he is too focused on looking for potential influencers and business partners to make more money. This leaves her quite annoyed. She thinks that he is pretending to not hear. He once again heeds to her call, and she this time asks them to play dice since they are a bit bored. He seems interested and asks how they are going to play, and the bitch wants to make it more exciting. The loser has to take off a piece of clothing. If they don't, they would have to pay 10,000 yuan instead. She doesn't know that our boy is going to see every little piece of meat she has under that fabric with those conditions. But he has to shut up. She is apparently expert at dice, enough that no one can actually defeat her in it, according to what he knows about her from the company. She does a surprised Pikachu face against him. But he already knows that she was thinking how a mere operations guy earning 5,000 yuan a month with no future is wearing Louis Vuitton, taking them all to an upscale restaurant. He wanted to let the things slide, not her clothes. But he ain't going to be a simp or a pushover. He can see the disdain and suspicion in her eyes. This action of his again nets him a good 1.8 million. And he reveals that he is indeed not from a rich family. Xinhua smirks about being right, that he was just pretending to be rich. But he tells her to not rush since he hasn't finished speaking. Even though he is not from a rich family, he still dares 300,000 yuan to her to walk out of this club naked. She gets embarrassed and calls him outrageous for such demands. Gaowen tries to mend the situation by telling him that Xinhua was just joking and asks to again sit down and play for a bit. But that bitch just cannot feel the main character energy and again challenges him that there is no way he is anything close to 300,000. And to flex, he shouts in the crowd that he would pay 300,000 to treat everyone to drinks today, and offers to immediately pay by the card right now. And the payment does go through as well. Everyone in the club gets hyped and shocked by his huge spending, and our boy is immediately rewarded for it as well. Xinhua is shocked as well that he was actually able to come up with 300,000 on the spot. While leaving, he tells her that he already knows she looks down on people with no money, which doesn't matter to him at all. He never intended to make her respect him, because people like her are just ants to him, only staring at other people's wallets. After getting full-on fingered by his statements, she quietly brings her ass down to the seat again. Both Qingqing and Gao Wen are also left surprised by the event. Xinhua gets up from the awkwardness and tries to get out by saying that she suddenly remembered having something to do, and leaves while crying, but our boy doesn't give two shits about it. He asks them both to continue drinking since he is paying for it tonight anyways. Suddenly, another two-faced bitch comes on, recognizing Gao Wen, and asks if she is here to drink away her poor performance. Since her top fan was apparently quiet week today, but she tells the girl to stop talking about work during her off hours. The girl starts to bully her and calls her pretentious, always trying to flaunt her charms and purity. She puts her hand away, saying that it's none of her concern. The girl suddenly sits down near her. She asks her reason, and the girl wants to live stream at this opportunity. She greets her fan and reveals that she just met Gao Wen at the bar and asks if they all want them to do a PK, and then goes on to frame her that Gao Wen doesn't seem to like her very much, due to which she starts getting flood of messages and trolls. The girl has apparently planned all of this, with some big shots already being ready to support her. She wants to take her spot as the top dance streamer. Suddenly, Gao Wen tries to move away after getting a call. They tell her to start live streaming immediately, as well to not miss the opportunity. She argues that she is not in condition today, but they put the pressure on her, warning her to wait and see if she don't start live streaming immediately. The girl again tries to rage bait that Gao Wen is scared and shit, but she finally steps forward. Both of them set up their phones and starts up their PK, dancing all sexily. Qingqing watches the stream as the girl's stream is getting flooded with rockets. Meanwhile, Gao Wen starts to get flooded with mean trolls and comments. Our boy is also watching the stream, and all the support is flooding towards Jie right now. And he quickly realizes that they are playing dirty against Gao Wen. All the comments starts trolling even harder upon seeing Gao Wen lose like this. And finally, Gao Wen starts to get some rockets as well. She tries to thank him, but before she can even do so, tons of rockets starts coming her way, covering her whole screen. Lu Shi starts to get annoyed believing that Gao Wen has such big person supporting her from the back. Some of the comments starts to actually fire back and get reversed to her instead as well. She is annoyed finding the money being wasted when given to Gao Wen, who again thanks her secret donor for the large sum while also finding it too exaggerating. People are shocked that someone is donating such huge sums, while some believes that it might be company promotion, others believe it's not possible. The secret donor is none other than our simp number one, who doesn't find any reason to keep on continuing this at this point. And once again he is rewarded with 5 million. Qingqing is surprised since even though Gao Wen has stopped, the donations are still coming. Meanwhile, our boy rubs his finger faster on his phone than he does on his cock when seeing Gao Wen's stream, and once again bombards her with rockets, not even letting her catch her breath. The person behind Lu Shi seems to be keen on taking action now, and starts to bombard her with rockets as well. She thanks him for all the rockets and shit. Her top before wanted her to send some private videos. He is also rich and generous, so he won't miss this chance to be her hero. But Xiaohang simply smirks, asking if that's it, and again starts sending rockets to Gao Wen, leading to her winning the PK battle as well. But the rockets doesn't stop much to her shock. In fact, the amount only increases further. This time, she thanks him formally for all the support, It's apparently the first time since she reached 1 million viewers on her stream. But she also asks him to not waste this much money on her as well. Seeing the reaction to her stream, Shi realizes that all of this only made Gaowen more popular. She received tens of millions in donations and millions of viewers, achievement that even the top streamer on the platform cannot achieve. Xiaohang also gets up to head back to his home for today finally. Not before giving Shi some words of his own, that she shouldn't get discouraged since she's still got several people supporting her. Qingqing tells Gaowen that his words must have cut quite deep to Shi. She must have gotten furious, and Gaowen tries to quiet her down about this. She definitely seems speechless and shocked, as Xiaohang and others begin to leave the club after their victory. Qingqing is all up on seeing the defeated face of Shi, commenting that she must be kicking herself now since her plan blew to her face. And today was also quite eventful for her since she got to see their super rich big brother Hang, and also the top donor of the Xiaoning platform. But she notices that Gaowen isn't excited at all. She simply feels unworthy of it. She has never seen that fan before in her stream, and now he gave her such big donation, which makes her uneasy. But Qingqing don't give two shits, finding him godsend and plans to get close to him somehow, and quickly sends that big donor a private message. Xiaohang immediately receives it right behind their back. They both quickly notices the notification sound. It is the official notification sound of the platform. They now start to doubt him. But he tries to justify that it's just a coincidence. He simply quit his job, and now he is still dealing with some private messages from before. Gaowen breaks her silence, as Xiaohang just blew millions a bit ago while the other party seems to be worth billions. He agrees, insisting that he only have a few millions, and that's it. She then offers to drop him back home as well, but he replies that he would just take a cab since his house is out of her way. And before they all leave, they encounter their boss, who recognized Gaowen's background to be Fuyo, and got in time to run into her outside. She simply ignores him and turns her face away. He also recognizes Xiaohang, and starts to humiliate him for even showing up here without any money, and believing that Gaowen must have treated him to here. Which she clears up that she was the one who actually relied on him. He treated her to dinner and drinks tonight. But the guy doesn't believe it at all and accuses her for falling for him and now covering for him. He apparently knows everything. That tonight's bill was covered by some mysterious person, so there is no way that Xiaohang treated them. So he instead accuses him of using his charming words to seduce women to get them stuff. Qingqing also speaks up that Xiaohang was indeed the one who treated them. But he shouts at her instead for even daring to speak against him, and calls her cocky for getting a few fans, and tells her that they are all actually fakes, much to her shock. He reveals that the company spent quite much to promote her, yet she does makeup all day and barely get any ads, so there is no one who would want to watch her, and calls her a money-losing asset, something which she should learn from Gaowen instead, who brought in millions in a single night. So next time, he would like her to do something more sexy and not act pure. He turns towards Gaowen and reminds her that she once said she didn't want it to be a live streamer. If she agrees to something for him, he would tell the boss tomorrow to let her play a supporting role in a TV drama. And the thing that he wants is to spend one night with her. But Xiaohang arrives and grabs his arm, telling him to show some respect to her, which makes him start going off on him on how he cannot give shit to Gaowen. No money, no resources with his knockoff LV covered in logos. But Gaowen is seeing something completely different from the back, and instead warns the boss that if he tries to harass her again, she would terminate the contract with the company. But the boss ain't too worried about it. She signed the contract for 5 years, and there is still another year left. If she terminates it now, she would have to pay 10 million. But she believes that she can afford it, since she just earned millions and she got her past savings as well, leaving the boss quite angered, and starts calling all the live streamers prostitutes and whatnot, and even if she can pay the penalty, the company won't let her go. They ain't going to lose their cash cow just like that. And even if she did leave, it would be easy for them to blacklist her with a single word from their boss. But our boy steps in, threatening to buy the Meow Meow Media outright. And then the one who will be leaving, it's not going to be Gaowen, but him instead. Manager, he then sarcastically claims to Xiaohang that he would simply wait for him to buy the company. He finally leaves while being annoyed at Xiaohang for trying to show off in front of him. Qingqing is quite affected by what he said as well, wondering if they were really all fake. And just thinking about how he whole live stream might have been just a big prop, she starts to cry. Gaowen immediately holds her hand, assuring that it's not the case. Claiming that manager, he just wants to put her down, manipulate her, and make her think that she owns everything to the company. So she shouldn't get upset by that scumbag's words. Gaowen is also grateful to Xiaohang for standing up for her today. She also thanks Qingqing too for trying to clarifying things even though they end up pissing He Shui off. Ching replies that it's no problem, since she wouldn't have known he looked down that much on her if it weren't for Gaowen, and starts venting out her anger. Gaowen turns to Xiaohang, saying that he didn't had to stand up for her since they are just colleagues. But he claims that he was also pissed at him for quite some time, and just got the chance to vent a bit of his anger off. She then forwards her hand. Even if they might not have the chance to meet again, she hopes that he would soar high. And they do end up shaking hands and part ways. Afterwards, he was so focused on sending rockets, he didn't pay attention to the notification he got. And with the spending he did all this time, he ended up becoming a millionaire as well. And this time, instead of train, he decides to take a plane instead. But the ticket is still quite expensive, much more than for train. But he don't give two shits and decides to splurge once again, getting a huge sum in return for it. Fast forward to the next morning, he is woken up by his landlord, who beats on his door for the rent due. He wakes up annoyed. The landlord always comes a week before the due date, and already nags before it's even time to pay. And when he don't wake up, she shouts at him to not pretend that he isn't home. He shouts at her to let people sleep for a bit, and comes out with his phone in the hand. She nags at him that as young ones they always just laze around and not take any responsibility at all, only to receive 1 year's worth of rent in advance, much to her shock. She wonders how did the broke kid have the money to pay a year's worth of rent in advance, before he was paying up right at the deadline. But there is extra money in the rent, which Xiaohang simply gives away as service fee for not nagging at him early for this year, and heads back inside to sleep, leaving her speechless. He plops on the bed again, sleeping for 3 more hours since there is still time for his flight. His roommate asks if he has hit some kind of jackpot from how he was giving so much extra just as a service fee. He then suddenly wakes up to a notification sound that he has been awarded a whole-ass villa for spending in Swan City. And when he gets up, he also has the key to the villa in his hands. He then quickly jumps out of his bed. His friend asks, where is he heading off to? He rushes off while saying that he is going back home, and won't be back for a while as well. We switch to his parents. His dad did got a call from him, and he told him to not worry, and that he sent them 100,000 yuan as well, which he saved from his part-time job. Her mom doubts he can earn that much from a part-time job, and hopes he isn't doing anything illegal. His dad assures that their son isn't that kind of person at all. Just then, Xiaohang arrives and worriedly asks for his mom's condition. She assures that she is fine and her vitals are all good as well. He didn't even had to come back for just this. His dad asks about his work and if his boss didn't mind his leave, and he reveals to them that he quit his job. Hearing which, both of them are quite shocked. But her mom consoles him that their son is good, so he would find something even better. His dad also comforts him and asks him to take some rest before going back. He is happy hearing that, finding them to be his source of safe harbor. He then asks his dad if they settled the medical bills already, who reveals that he borrowed some money and paid it all already, and would give him back his 100,000 yuan since the city is expensive to live. He would need it. But he insists to them to keep it, and asks dad from whom did he borrow the money. He would repay it back quickly. He hesitates in replying, saying that it was just some relatives, and he realizes something is fishy and asks if it's his uncle and aunt, which makes him really angry. He wants to pay them back immediately. His dad tries to calm him down, assuring that he would pay it back soon. He don't have to worry about it. And now his mother starts crying for burdening them both, draining all of their finances while their son is working outside of home with a mere 5,000 yuan salary. He assures that it's not that hard for him, and that he actually earned quite a bit from his part-time job. He would also get her an expensive room and tell the doctor to not spare any cost of her medicines, while he would go back to his uncle's house to pay back the debts. He takes a small carriage there, finding the roads to be much worse than before when traveling. He asks the carriage driver about the roads, since the roads were repaired just 2 years ago. He replies that they did repair, but it's now worse than before. The contractor colluded with the officials and ran away with the money halfway through the repairs. It really irks Xiaohang, and also makes him realize how fortunate he is that he was able to move to the city because of his parents. He finally arrives at their house, beaming with anger just by looking at it. They live in a 100 square meter house made of concrete, while they only have a few dozen meter one made of bricks. It was all due to them taking all of their grandfather's relocation compensation, leaving them with nothing. And now they even have to borrow 50,000 yuan from them to pay for medical fees. He then goes on to angrily bang on their gates. Another hot girl enters the story, asking who is it? She recognizes Xiaohang, and he also recognizes her as Wang Ju and asks her, what is she doing at his uncle's house? She hesitates in replying. And suddenly, another guy comes in and tells Xiaohang that she is going to be his sister-in-law, so it's obvious she would be at his house. Xiaohang quickly gets the hang of the situation, and asks if the uncle is home since he is here to repay the money. Wang Ju wonders why he is being cold to her and assumes that he must be still hung up over her. The guy smacks her ass and asks her the reason that she is staring at Xiao Hang despite her about to become his wife soon, and it annoys him quite much. She replies that she was just looking at how pathetic he is. His clothes are of no brand. Even though he went to the city, he had a glow down. Compared to which, she finds the countryside much better, where her apparent husband can wear brands anytime he likes. He finally meets up with his uncle, who sarcastically introduces him to his friend as his nephew who works in the city now. His friend comments that he must be earning a lot. Others start comparing him to the next-door girls who are apparently working in the city and making well over 100,000 a month. The cocky ass comes in and tells everyone that Xiao Hang is indeed super successful with his 5,000 a month salary. He mockingly asks him how much can he even save out of that amount. Even the pig caretaker in their house earns more. But he simply ignores all of their comment and again tells his uncle that he is here to pay the amount, not for small talk. Who tells him that there is no rush, since they are in a difficulty. He would just add interest later to it. But Xiao Hang assures that he is quite fine, so he cannot still borrow from him. But he still doesn't take it, and tells him to not be too polite since he is also working in the city while taking care of his family. But he still insists on paying, so his uncle tells him that he can pay in installments then, and gets his account book. Datsai also tries telling him that there is no rush. Since they are family, he cannot see him take this much pressure. His uncle asks him to not be so clear-cut when they are a family. But Xiao Hang simply transfers them the 51,000 yuan with interest, leaving him absolutely shocked that he is able to do it, and asks him, where did he got that kind of money from? And Xiao Hang trolls him hard by saying that he of course got it from working in the city. Datsai tells everyone that his family is just saving face. He checked his whole background, and he probably emptied his whole saving just to save some of his pride. Wang Ju asks to see him off, since he might not be able to accept that she is becoming his sister-in-law, but since they would see each other often due to being relatives, she would go to clear up his misunderstanding. Datsai allows her to do so, to let him know to not eye his girl. She runs towards him and tells him to not hang on to old feelings and act like they don't know each other. They were childhood friends, they grew up together, so she believes that he like her while she has only seen him as her little brother, and soon she is going to be his sister-in-law, so she wants him to stop having those kinds of feeling towards her. Even he is surprised listening to her bullshit. She goes on to say that it would be bad if people were to know about his feelings for her. It would tarnish his reputation. Xiao Hang simply smirks and laughs and asks her to go and take a look in the mirror before spouting such nonsense, much to her surprise. The girl questions, what is he even talking about? Xiao Hang confidently tells her to not think of herself as someone worth much just because they used to play a little together when they were kids. He originally thought that she wasn't someone who despised poor and loved the rich and treated everyone kindly, but she turned out to be no different than others. But she believes that he is only looking down on her and getting angry because he couldn't get with her, but since she is his sister-in-law, she is willing to let go of the past. Xiao Hang is left dumbfounded by her response and decides to simply walk away instead of explaining more and calls her crazy. She gets pissed and again tries to do something, ranting and babbling on how much she hates him and how useless him and his pathetic city job is and the fact that he is working for someone else right now, while she is living with his uncle in a big house, wearing expensive clothes and shit, while he barely has a rental room, and even in the countryside, they got a rundown house with some leaks. And his mother, whose hospital bills are bottomless, no matter how much money they throw it's all meaningless, so he should still be grateful that she is even talking to him. But he quickly shuts her down by calling her a frog in a small pit, someone who is flaunting catching a dead fish. Otherwise there is no one who would cheersy her. She starts to get even more furious and pointing fingers at him, while he explains that he is someone hard-working and capable, making his own fortune and wealth and not depending on someone else's money, feeling better than narrow-minded people like her. So, she should take a look at herself in the mirror first. The system again pops up and grants him a house in Xia Town that's awaiting demolition, much to his surprise. He then grabs her fingers and points it at herself. And right when he is on his way, a car comes speeding right beside him. And it's none other than Datsai inside, who claims that he didn't see him as he was in a rush to get to the construction site. He is apparently the contractor for the city's construction bureau, so he is too busy to properly greet him right now, and he can even get him a job if he cannot find one, like hauling things and shit. Xiao Hang realizes that they were the reason that the road ended up in such a state. And so, he decides to intervene himself to remove this disaster for the people. A bit later, and he is seen walking out of the construction bureau branch in the town. The manager there even offers him to come by for a tea sometime. And for his righteousness, he is granted a 100 land deeds, much to his shock. The system thinks that he is not satisfied and asks if it's too little. It's apparently determined automatically based on his actions. He replies that he won't blame him for this, and finds the system is getting more and more abstract and feels that soon the entire world's asset might fall into his hands at this rate. Sometime later, he is again at the hospital, peeling apples for his mom, who is quite elated by it. Moments later, the doctor arrives and tells them that her surgery was successful, and since all the vitals have returned normal, he has arranged for her discharge. Xiaohang argues that his mom just got her surgery done and is still in recovery. He don't mind the medical fees, he just wants her to be here for a bit longer. But the doctor insists that he has already processed her discharge papers and asks his nurses to help the patient pack her things. Xiaohang asks him the meaning of this, and his mom realizes something is about to happen and gets worried. The doctor starts to get angry, telling Xiaohang to hurry up and take his mom away to make room for other patients and not hog the medical resources. Xiaohang gets pissed as well and puts his hand on the knife. The doctor also sees this and threatens to call the security on him. His mom tries to tell him that she is all better now and there is no need to spend more money on her, but he still tells her that they need to be careful since her wound isn't healed yet. The doctor tells him to be a good son and listen to his mom, and tells his nurses to make sure to clean up everything properly so that it don't reeks of poverty. Xiaohang is quite frustrated with the doctor's behavior and tells his mom to eat the peeled apple first while he will go on to take care of something. His mom worriedly tells him to not fight with them, since they cannot win. But Xiaohang assures that he is not going to use force. Now at the chief physician's office, he is talking to someone on the phone, apparently to bring in their friend's wife for a measly sprained ankle, which he insists should not be taken lightly. The person on the phone is none other than Datsai, while Dr. Li is simping for him for being generous with money while calling Xiaohang a poor bastard who cannot even pay medical bills on time for his mom. Datsai leaves the follow-up to the doctor and even offers to treat him to dinner later. It was the way for him to teach Xiaohang a lesson. Xiaohang is watching all this shit and guessed correctly that the doctor was bribed. And since the money can make the impossible happen, it's much easier for him since he is pretty expert in it right now. A bit later, he arrives at the head director's office, who asks him, who is he? Xiaohang introduces himself as an ordinary patient. So, the director tells him to go directly to the registration's desk. He doesn't see patients here. Xiaohang reveals his intentions that he plans on donating a building to the hospital. The director simply ignores him at first, telling him to consult the front desk about all this shit, but realizes a moment later on what he just said and asks Xiaohang if he even realizes how much does a building costs. To the doctor, Xiaohang doesn't look anything special as noted by his clothes and thinks that he must be joking accordingly to that. But Xiaohang insists that he has already looked into it, and he wants to just start the process of going through with it. He knows building a small building in country town would only cost him 1,000,000 yuan, which is a drop in the bucket for him right now. It would also solve his problem and would benefit the people as well. He explains to the dean that he knows the ward often gets overcrowded. It would make things more convenient for them. And he also wants to investigate for any corrupt practices here. The dean explains that he understands the complaints from the patients' families due to lack of beds, but he cannot let him do baseless suspicion and thinks that Xiaohang is here to repot them. Xiaohang replies that he must be helpless about the shortages of beds, and in such situations some people are taking in dirty money, giving scarce bed to people with special connections. But the dean still insists that this country's doctors have never taken any bribes at all. He has watched over the management here for over 10 years now. Xiaohang explains his situation that his mother, who just had a surgery, is being forced to discharge by the attending physician, while the next patient that is coming only has a sprained ankle. Dr. Liu accuses him for making shit up, believing that they never discharge a patient right after surgery, and even if they want to, they have to sign a waiver first to do so. Xiaohang asks him to not get too upset and hands him over a recording to listen to first. Upon listening to it, he still claims that the recording itself might be fake or edited. At this point, even Xiaohang wonders if the dean is just naive or intentionally trying to cover it up and assures even if the recording is fake, the building is real. He quickly calls up to Engineer Kong and asks him if he has time to take on the project to construct a new building for the county's hospital, and asks him to come to the dean's office to discuss it further, while Dean Liu believes that Xiaohang is simply acting. He then asks Dean Liu to talk to the engineer himself and not let a whole building slip by his hand from just a few minutes of stubbornness. He takes up the phone and introduces himself. And when he hears Engineer Kang's voice, he is quite shocked, realizes that Xiaohang was indeed a rich kid, just keeping a low profile. A bit later, Xiaohang again asks him for the answer to the recording, and he replies that it's alone not enough as sufficient evidence. So, Xiaohang increases the building count to 2 instead, much to Dean Lu's shock. And he starts to leave while saying that he don't have any other requests. He just wants the dean to punish the careless doctor and restore the opportunities to ordinary patients to see doctors and be admitted. Before he leaves, Dean Lu tries to ask for his name, and he simply replies that he is just an ordinary kid from a farming family, doing what is right. But if he still needs his name, he can just use Messenger of Justice. And as soon as Xiaohang leaves, he picks up the phone and orders the staff to bring him the most recent discharge records. A bit later, and we see Dr. Li is kneeling and requesting against his suspension, but Dean Lu don't give a damn about him. Now next day at Datsai's home, where Wang Ju asks him if he would be able to afford a house in the city soon, and he assures he will. Suddenly, his friend rushes in anger, complaining that he boasted about having great connections with the doctor, yet his wife was asked to pack her bags and leave, which made her injury worsen. Datsai is shocked by it, and tells him to wait, and let him call, and clear up the situation. But when he tries to call Dr. Li, his number only shows that it's currently unavailable, much to his shock. Sometime later at the courtyard of the Hang family, Xiaohang's mom questions that it all must have been expensive, hiring a caretaker and all, but he assures that it was all managed by the hospital. Since Dr. Li was caught, it was all given to them as compensation. His mom is convinced as well, while Xiaohang finds it quite cool on how he is doing good deeds without any recognition. Suddenly, Datsai comes bursting in his house, complaining that he made all of the money he spent on getting his friend to bed in the hospital waste down the drain. His mom questions, what is he talking about? While Xiaohang finds him a fool for admitting it himself, and starts speaking out loudly how he was the one who paid money just to have his aunt move out of the hospital bed. Datsai tries to feign ignorance, saying that it's normal for people to get discharged after getting better, and asks Xiaohang to stop pretending, since there is no way a hospital would arrange a caretaker for them. Xiaohang replies that it was because Director Lu was upright and discovered corruption and offered his compensation to them. But Datsai doesn't believe Tot nonsense and instead goes on to rant how he had to buy his friends cigarettes and form connection with him, which then allowed him to get road contracts and shit. But Xiaohang plays the victim card, saying that it wouldn't look nice if a big boss like Datsai would extort money from a poor person like him. It would make no sense since a guy like him, who merely makes 1,000 a month, could ever have the power to make Datsai fall so much, an argument which leaves him speechless. He then starts to leave, telling Datsai that perhaps it's just his bad karma catching up with him. As some people use dirty money and think they can achieve everything in this world with it, Datsai scoffs at him, now believing that indeed a poor person like him wouldn't have the power to do shit to him, and curses him that he would stay poor while leaving, and Xiaohang calls him a dumb and evil thing. He goes for a walk with his mom, who is concerned about Datsai taking his revenge, and he replies that he would like to see him try. On the way, Datsai encounters a car and thinks that he perhaps just saw Engineer Kong in it, but denies the possibility since there is no way he would come to such a remote place. Meanwhile, Engineer Kong happily walks inside Xiaohang's home, speaking about constructing the road and the building. Xiaohang interrupts him by saying that Kong was simply stuck on a side of the road, and he helped him change a tire, which is why he is here to repay his kindness. Kong realizes that he must be keeping a low profile in front of his parents and agrees with his story. He takes Kong away to the side to talk, and tells him that he is keeping a low profile in the county, and Kong is quite impressed by him for not flaunting his wealth while helping people. He also has apparently handled the matter that Xiaohang gave him, which makes Xiaohang praise him as efficient worker. Switching to Datsai, he suddenly gets a call from Zhao, who tells him that he don't need to be involved in the road repairs anymore, leaving him completely shocked as he slams the brakes of his car. He argues that everything was agreed on from before, and he already scheduled the workers as well. Now the sudden information would cost him loss of wages. Zhao claims that there are now new regulations in the construction sector, and his team's qualification didn't pass the review, which is all he can say right now, and cuts the call immediately after, leaving him speechless and hanging. Zhao had no choice since Datsai offended Engineer Kong after all. Fast forward to some time later, and Datsai reaches Zhao's place with gifts in his hands, reminding him that he agreed to just collect his share and let him oversee the road repairs. But the fat ass is currently busy tasting the multicolored pussy. Datsai even tries to renegotiate the percentage and increases by 10%. Zhao finally meets his eye, and Datsai thinks that he knew it was about the money, and he was just trying to squeeze him out for more at the last minute. He goes on to say that he knows the qualification thing is just a formality. He would just make a second company and apply through that, not putting Zhao in a difficult situation. Zhao gets pissed and yells at him to even think about forging the documents. and for trying to give him bribe with mere cigarettes. Datsai tries to calm him down, but Zhao gets even more pissed thinking that Datsai believes he is just playing hard to get, who tries to say that it's not what he meant and once again increases the cut percentage. Instead, he gets even more pissed and acts as if Datsai was trying to harm him and throws him out like the trash he is. Just moments later, we see him going in his licking dog mode, going so far as to apologize to Kong and Xiao Hang for keeping them waiting. He thanks Xiao Hang for funding the road construction for the townspeople, who only finds Zhao to be a mere hypocrite, and replies that he ain't that noble. He is not interested in the matter of the village. It's just his parents are getting too old and have trouble walking. A bad road could make them twist their ankles. He then asks for a confirmation against him, if the road won't deteriorate again in another year. Zhao gets anxious of his question and assures that it would last, enduring it only because Hang is rich. Assuring that it would meet his expectations, the daddy system again grants him reward for acting all noble. He was wondering why the system was quiet for past few days, and it turns out it was planning something big. Meanwhile, at Datsai's home, Wang Ju is pissed at him for lying on his ass all day and not doing any work for shit, and claims that if she knew he only knew how to yap, then she would have chosen to go with Xiao Hang instead. He is in the city, he at least have the opportunities. His name makes Datsai pissed, who dares her to say that again. Wang Ju pokes him in the chest while telling him again that he is utterly useless. And if she was in his place, she would even kneel in front of Zhao if she had to while he is out there showing off, fooling her completely. She walks away and plans to go to Xiao Hang, believing that they can reconcile since they are childhood friends after all. But Datsai grabs her by the collar and calls her a shameless woman, pulling her roughly towards himself, and giving her a well-deserved slap across the face for not earning a single penny yet daring to criticize him. Meanwhile, Xiao Hang's parents receive some documents which they are supposed to look at later. His mom asks, "What does these documents mean?" Engineer Kong replies that the road construction would affect their property, requiring 1 square of their land. To express their apologies, they are giving them a compensation. Both of them are left quite shocked. Engineer Kong offers to add some even more monetary compensation if they are not satisfied with it. Both of them are wondering since when did their village got so lucky, giving away a whole house just for 1 square of land. But they chalk it up to good luck and calls out to Xiao Hang, shouting that someone is building them a new house. A few days later at the airport, Xiao Hang seems to be heading back. His mom asks him to make sure to take care of his health and whatnot, and when he comes back, they would have moved to a bigger house. He hugs her one more time before going, assuring that he would take care of himself, and takes his leave. A bit later at the lounge, right when he is thinking that his trip was worth every penny, he strikes another gold, and ends up meeting Gao Wan, who is surprised seeing him here and asks, what is he doing here? He is also surprised seeing her here and replies that he just went back to his hometown to see his sick mom. She apologizes for not asking earlier and asks if his mother is doing fine now. He assures that it's nothing serious, and she is recovering well now. Gao Wan is glad to hear that and explains that she is here on a business trip. The company wanted her to change her image, which is why she has been working on a rural revitalization campaign and was just heading back and ran into him. Xiao Hang also finds it quite the coincidence. She then asks if he has any plans on which company he would be applying for next. Though if it's inconvenient for him, he is fine not telling as well. Xiao Hang replies that he don't plan on joining anyone and instead plans on starting his own company. He has even rented a building right across his old office just to piss his boss off. Gao Wan is happy to hear that and offers to help him if he ever needs, introducing him to some editors and photographers that won't break his bank. But before they could talk further, she gets a call. She decides to take it. It's apparently from He Shui, who has already called her about 100 times in a single day. He starts ranting to Gao Wan for thinking that she has become important enough to ignore his calls after making some money. He wants her to get online and start competing with Jiada's team. They have been tagging her for half an hour now. She tries to explain that she is at the airport, which she already informed beforehand, but since she haven't boarded yet, He Shui asks her to do before she gets on. She argues that if she don't board now, there is no flight for the next 10 hours, and it's also her rest time right now. He Shui doesn't believe in something like a rest time in their company and threatens that the company is not supporting her for nothing. And if she ends up missing her flight, she can just live stream for 10 hours straight. Gao Wan gets angry and claims that she has already earned more than enough for her company and has been top ranked for the past 6 months. They haven't been supporting her for nothing. He Shui don't give a damn, since her contract is still with them. So he asks her to stop arguing, and if she goes any further with this, he would treat it as breach of contract. Xiao Hang behind asks if it's He Shui, and she confirms. And upon hearing his voice behind, He Shui comments that no wonder she is unavailable at the moment, since she is probably naked in bed with him. Gao-wen is shocked to hear such accusation and tells him to not spread baseless rumors, as she even sent her round-trip ticket to the company chat for reporting. Shui then asks her to go live to prove it that she is not in bed with Xiao Hang right now, and she gets even more pissed at him. Xiao Hang takes the call from her hand and tells Shui that he would pay the breach of contract fee for her. And since this call is being recorded, he would also have the right to sue him for defamation of character. Shui questions if he can really afford to pay for the contract fees, but Xiao Hang cuts the call instead of replying, leaving him quite annoyed and angry as well. Gao-wen gets concerned and asks Xiao Hang if he is really not going to pay for his contract fee. Is he? She doesn't feel like that she have the right to accept such kindness, and tries to explain that her situation at the company is still okay. It's just Shui who gives her occasional trouble, and this time, they would demand an exorbitant fees from them, so she doesn't want to let them take such advantage. She also saved quite a bit of money herself, and would slowly pay of the fees for breach of contract. But Xiao Hang tells her to not feel bad, since he is doing this for his own benefit as well. He lays out his plans that he plans to start a media company from across Meow Group, and needs some familiar faces to get started. So there is no better way for him to make a name for himself than poaching their top talent. She asks if he's trying to open a company rival to them, which makes her curious on just what is Xiao Hang's true identity. He offers her a salary based on pure commission model, with half of the monthly earnings going towards paying off the breach contract fee. Afterwards, they would split the net income 70 to 30, 70 for her and 30 for him. This makes her smile, as she calls him quite kind-hearted for such offer. Xiao Hang asks if she thinks that the ratio is too low, but she actually insists that it's not it. It's actually too high. She don't want him to help her that much. She knows that a live streaming company giving out 50% split would already be very good, yet he is paying her contract fees on top of it. So, giving her 20 or 30% would be natural. But Xiao Hang tells her that she was the only one in the Meow Group who didn't look down on him. She helped him out, so he is returning her kindness. And he also has a good eye for people, believing that she would have a bright future ahead, which is why he is asking her to switch jobs, and assures her that she would make him far more money than the breach of contract fee. Gao-wen is really happy to hear his words and is left speechless for a moment, thinking that he is clearly extending a life-saving branch to someone drowning, yet he insists on making it sound like that she is doing him a big favor. But she smiles and agrees to join him. Now we fast forward to sometime later, inside the Meow Group media office. They both stand against Shui, who questions Gao-wen that if she really believes the word of a man that he said in bed while consumed in his lust, and if she trusts him, and he cannot pay up, she would be the one left in disgrace. Xiao Hang simply asks him to stop wasting his time, since he specifically came to terminate the contract. Shui asks if he even knows how much Gao-wen is worth now. He did heard that Xiao Hang recently came into some money and is flush with cash. And when the poor suddenly get rich, they would suddenly lose themselves. So he advises Xiao Hang that his money castle would be gone in a flash if he is not careful. Xiao Hang simply calls the money an renewable resource. The more he spends, the more he would get, so he don't need to worry about it. And the way that he is losing his temper right now, he must be afraid that Xiao Hang can really afford to lose that much money, which seems true. Shui acts as if he don't care since it's not his money, nor is he earning from it. Xiao Hang expresses his worry for him, since he always uses what little power he has to bully others. Shui gets pissed and reminds Xiao Hang that he used to be a mere dog under his command, who instead reminds him that he was a legally signed employee, and if he calls him a dog, he could legally sue him. And their company clause also prohibits the spread of defamation, which is active even after termination. So if he hears any malicious rumors spread about him, he would sue him on behalf of Gao-wen. A bit later, the attorney asks both the party to sign the contract. Shui once again tries to warn her that she is making a big mistake, and Xiao Hang is merely a talker. But she doesn't care and ends up signing the contract quickly. Shui asks when the payment will be made since the contract is already signed, and tries to rile them up, saying to not run away after pretending to be generous. Xiao Hang tells him that it was already made a minute ago, but Shui doesn't believe that he just has tens of millions in cash flow like that. Xiao Hang asks him to check his account before even opening his mouth. He goes on to check some view from the huge glass window, calling it quite nice being in the upper management. And now after all this, he once again gets a large reward from the daddy system for spending money. Sometime later, outside the office, Qingqing ends up meeting them both. She worriedly asks Gao-wen if they would be able to meet up in the future. She hesitates to answer, and Xiao Hang tells her, why not? Showing Qingqing the place, and even allowing her to dine in their office cafeteria for lunch. leaving Qingqing quite surprised. He suddenly gets a call, but he cannot remember who is it. It's for the property he got from the system. He is being called to pick up its certificate, and he replies that he would come over soon, so the manager looks forward to his visit. He almost forgot about his villa that he got. He quickly takes his leave, telling Gao when to rest for a bit and plan for their business ahead. Qingqing asks her if he paid her contract fees, and she confirms it, which Qingqing finds hard to believe. The fact that the former office errand boy is actually a wealthy tycoon. Truly, they cannot judge a book by its cover. We switch over to Xiao Li, who is telling her staff to be respectful and make preparation for the VIP guest. And the manager there brings in all the staff, telling everyone to head to the entrance to welcome him, to present themselves appropriately. It's something crucial to them, so they cannot be careless. The girl with him asks for a photo, in case they end up greeting the wrong person. Manager Wang replies that he is a mysterious tycoon. They don't have his photo, but people like that have such presence. This place would light up when they arrive. He goes on to mock her for not having such judgment despite being in the sales department for so long, and she apologizes. He suddenly gets some dust on his hand and yells at his staff to clean up the whole place again for the VIP guest. Meanwhile, our boy arrives in a taxi, finding the office quite impressive, but wonders, who are all the people waiting for here? So he casually walks inside, but finds it empty. Not even a salesperson is there, which makes the whole villa thing look suspicious to him. He looks over the models and finds it quite impressive and wonders, where is his house going to be in this? The girl then arrives and offers to show him around, but Manager Wang calls her back for a moment, reminding her to not attend to other clients right now. She argues that he is still a customer. But Manager Wang wants to clear everyone else out, so their VIP client won't feel disrespected. But it doesn't feel right to Irene, since they didn't even issue a notice. Manager Wang takes matters in his own hands, thinking that Xiaohang probably doesn't even have 200 yuan to his name, and is in the way of their VIP client. He goes up close and says that some people should know their place. If they cannot afford it, they should not waste time. Xiaohang asks if he is talking about him, but he ignores him and turns towards Irene, telling her to sweep up the trash before their client comes. Xiaohang argues that he won't know if it's good if he don't look, but Manager Wang mocks his outfit and starts insulting him even. Xiaohang calls the property management here bad, and since people here judge others by appearances, he don't think houses here are worth the high prices. Manager Wang replies that he is just bitter since he cannot afford it. Xiaohang suddenly gets a call from Xiao Li, who asks him if he arrived at the office. Manager Wang finds the voice familiar, while Xiaohang replies that Manager Wang told him that he was embarrassing himself and unworthy of buying a house here. He threatens to her to cancel the transaction. She gets shocked by it, telling Xiaohang to wait there as she would be right there, wondering if Manager Wang lost his mind. She calls it a big misunderstanding and rushes for the office, requesting Xiaohang to not leave.